Emdad Rahman. Storyteller and Translator. Born in Sylhet, Bangladesh. Published Storybook, Patalvumi o Onnanno Golpo. Emdad Rahman is currently living in England. Translation, from Walt Whitman's Specimen Days and Collect. The Silence of the Poet, Celebration of the Reader. Many years back poet Walt Whitman wrote about all this solitude. With Bashkar Chakraborty's Sheetkal Eshe Gesh Suporna, winter has arrived Suporna and Hassan Azizal Hukstanda Namchehim, it is cold chilly from Atmaja o Ektai Karobi Gok, daughter in a Karobi tree. On a Paris early morning, I was walking along the long boulevard Maxim Gorky to go to Baudelaire's grave. Suddenly unknowingly I began to sing a line of Suman's song dash. The world is seeing on our face the shadow of time proper and improper. In this connection I remembered Shanka Ghosh's book of prose A Few Words, then I remembered the notebook of Walt Whitman, whose name in Bangla is Shishab Din Specimen Days. All through the book Whitman seemingly got engaged in a dialogue with solitude. So many years back he has written about all those days of loneliness. The poet's words are a deep reflection towards life, page after page a beautiful panorama of the deep natural life of the America of those days. It is holding the brightness of life in your hands with a deep desire to drink it all your life, and is a sharp observation. Whitman's Specimen Days and Collect was published in 1882. This book stuffed with various subjects is also called his diary, even preliminary notes where 19th century American lifestyle is manifest. At the same time it is also a faithful documentation of Whitman's time. While traveling through Boston, Hudson Valley, Central Park, Niagara Falls, the Great Plains, Arkansas River and Denver City, he wrote these words in the notebook he was carrying. Tired of our days in the city, these write-ups of his are thus a great festival of life for us. As if poet Walt Whitman has given us a lesson from plants and creepers into our roots like flowing blood for our necessity, for us to celebrate ourselves. Let us read a few sentences from my longtime companion, Whitman's Specimen Days and Collect. A Night Remembrance. August 23, 9 to 10 a.m. I sit by the pond, everything quiet, the broad polished surface spread before mauve blue of the heavens, and the white clouds reflected from it and flitting across, now and then, the reflection of some flying bird. Last night I was down here with a friend till after midnight, everything a miracle of splendor, the glory of the stars, and the completely rounded moon, the passing clouds, silver and luminous tawny now, and then masses of vapory illuminated scud, and silently by my side my dear friend. The shades of the trees and patches of moonlight on the grasseth softly blowing breeze, and just palpable odor of the neighboring ripening corneth indolent and spiritual night, inexpressibly rich, tender, suggestive, something altogether to filter through one's soul, and nourish and feed and soothe the memory long afterwards. Birds migrating at midnight. Did you ever chance to hear the midnight flight of birds passing through the air and darkness overhead, in countless armies, changing their early or late summer habitat? It is something not to be forgotten. A friend called me up just after 12 last night to mark the peculiar noise of unusually immense flocks migrating north, rather late this year in the silence, shadow and delicious odor of the hour, the natural perfume belonging to the night alone. I thought it rare music. You could hear the characteristic motion once or twice, the rush of mighty wings, but often a velvety rustle, long drawn outy, sometimes quite near, with continual calls and chirps, and some song notes. It all lasted from 12 till after 3. Once in a while the species was plainly distinguishable. I could make out the bobbling tanager, Wilson's thrush, white-crowned sparrow, and occasionally from high in the air came the notes of the plover. An afternoon scene. February 22nd. Last night and today rainy and thick, till mid-afternoon, when the wind chopped round, the clouds swiftly drew off like curtains, the clear appeared, and with it the fairest, grandest, most wondrous rainbow I ever saw, all complete, very vivid at its earth ends, spreading vast effusions of illuminated haze, violet, yellow, drab green, in all directions overhead, through which the sun beamed an indescribable utterance of color and light, so gorgeous yet so soft, such as I had never witnessed before. Then its continuance, a full hour passed before the last of those earth ends disappeared. The sky behind was all spread in translucent blue, with many little white clouds and edges. To these a sunset filling, dominating the aesthetic and soul senses, sumptuously, tenderly full. I end this note by the pond, just light enough to see, through the evening shadows, the western reflections in its water mirror surface, with inverted figures of trees. I hear now and then the flup of a pike leaping out, and rippling the water. Colors a contrast. Such a play of colors and lights, different seasons, different hours of the day-eyed lines of the far horizon, where the faint tinged edge of the landscape loses itself in the sky. As I slowly hobble up the lane toward day close, an incomparable sunset shooting in molten sapphire and gold, shaft after shaft, through the ranks of the long-leaved corn, between me and the west. Another day. The rich dark green of the tulip trees and the oaks, the gray of the swamp willows, the dull hues of the sycamores and black walnuts, the emerald of the cedars after rain, and the light yellow of the beeches. A meadow lark. March 16th. Fine, clear, dazzling morning, the sun an hour high, the air just tart enough. What a stamp in advance my whole day receives from the song of that meadow lark perched on a fence stake 20 rods distant. 2 or 3 liquid simple notes, repeated at intervals, full of careless happiness and hope. With its peculiar shimmering slow progress and rapid noiseless action of the wings, it flies on a way, lights on another stake, and so on to another, shimmering and singing many minutes. Distant sounds. The axe of the woodcutter, the measured thud of a single threshing flail, the crowing of chanticleer in the barnyard, with invariable responses from other barnyards, and the lowing of cattle a bit most of all or far or near, the wind through the high treetops, or through low bushes, laving one's face and hands so gently, this balmy bright noon, the coolest for a long time, September 2nd, I will not call it sighing, for to me it is always a firm, sane, cheery expression, through a monotone, giving many varieties, or swift or slow, or dense or delicate. The wind in the patch of pine woods off there, how sibilant. Or at sea, I can imagine at this moment, tossing the waves, with spirits of foam flying far, and the free whistle, and the scent of the salty on that vast paradox somehow with all its action, and restlessness conveying a sense of eternal rest. Other adjuncts dot about the sun and the moon here in these times. As never more wonderful by day, the gorgeous orb imperial, so vast, so ardently, lovingly hot, so never a more glorious moon of nights, especially the last 3 or 4. The great planets too, Mars never before so flaming bright, so flashing large with slight yellow tinge, the astronomers say, is it true? Nearer to us than any time the past century, and well up, Lord Jupiter, a little while since close by the moon, and in the west, after the sun sinks, voluptuous Venus, now languid and shorn of her beams, as if from some divine excess. Sundown lights. May 6th, 5 p.m., this is the hour for strange effects in light and shade enough to make a colorist go delirious along spokes of molten silver sent horizontally through the trees, now in their brightest tenderest green, each leaf and branch of endless foliage a lit-up miracle, then lying all prone on the youthful ripe, interminable grass, and giving the blades not only aggregate but individual splendor, in ways unknown to any other hour. I have particular spots where I get these effects in their perfection. One broad splash lies on the water, with many a rippling twinkle, offset by the rapidly deepening black-green murky transparent shadows behind, and at intervals all along the banks. These with great shafts of horizontal fire thrown among the trees and along the grass as the sun lowers, give effects more and more peculiar, more and more superb, unearthly, rich and dazzling. Bird whistling. How much music, wild, simple, savage, doubtless, but so tart sweet, there is in mere whistling. It is 4/5 of the utterance of birds. There are all sorts and styles. For the last half hour now, while I have been sitting here, some feathered fellow away off in the bushes has been repeating over and over again, what I may call a kind of throbbing whistle. And now a bird about the robin size has just appeared, all mulberry red, flitting among the bush-head wings, body deep red, not very brightino song as I have heard. 4 o'clock, there is a real concert going on around me, a dozen different birds pitching in with a will. There have been occasional rains, and the growths all show its vivifying influences. As I finish this, seated on a log close by the pond edge, much chirping and trilling in the distance, and a feathered recluse in the woods nearby is singing deliciously in many notes, but full of music of almost human sympathy, I continuing for a long, long while. Birds and birds and birds. A little later, bright weather. An unusual melodiousness these days, last of April and 1st of May, from the blackbirds, indeed all sorts of birds darting, whistling, hopping, or perched on trees. Never before have I seen, heard, or been in the midst of, and got so flooded and saturated with them and their performances, as this current month. Such oceans, such successions of them. Let me make a list of those I find here. Blackbirds, plenty; meadow larks, plenty; ringdoves, catbirds, plenty; owls, cuckoos, woodpeckers, pond snipes, plenty; kingbirds, chewinks, crows, plenty; quawks, wrens, ground robins, kingfishers, ravens, quails, gray snipes, turkey buzzards, eagles, hen hawks, high holes, yellow birds, herons, thrushes, tits, reed birds, wood pigeons. Early came the bluebirds, meadowlark, killdeer, white-bellied swallow, plover, sandpiper, robin, Wilson's thrush, woodcock, flicker. Compiled by the author.